broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hi, everybody. Welcome to The Ultimate Fighter, Season 21, Episode 4. I'm Suri Serano, and we are very excited about the guests that we have on today's show. But first, I am going to introduce my co-host to my left, Jared Gilkerson.
Hi, I'm Jared Gilkerson, at Gilkerson Radio on Twitter. Great to be here.
Yeah, awesome to have you. And over on the other side of the table, Mr. J. Tan.
Hey, lady.
Hi. How are you?
All right, I'm good.
And next to you, Alexis Torres.
Hey, everybody. You can find me where all Alexis Torreses are sold at atorres890.
All right. And then joining us from Florida via Skype is American Top Team's Mr. Nathan Coy. Are you there on the line?
I can.
Ah, there you are. We see you. Thank you so much for joining us and taking time out of your schedule.
Absolutely. Anything for the MMA fans.
Yay! We love it. Well, we're going to dive right in. This episode started off, in the American Top Team's locker room post another loss. I got to ask you, what was the morale of the team that we necessarily didn't see on camera? Were you guys down? Were you feeling low? Was there anything that we weren't seeing?
Surprisingly not. No, I felt like our team was very optimistic even at the lowest of the show. We definitely lost some matches in a row, some fights, and for some reason I vouch for myself speaking that I just never lost hope, and it just isn't in our nature as fighters, so I think the morale is good. We train every day. We're used to adversity, and we're just ready to continue to move forward. I think you have to be, as a fighter, you can't ever not be positive.
Especially that wrestling mentality that you've got there, Nate, coming from, of course, Oregon NCAA champion and the wrestling legacy. You kind of never say die and just go on to the next day, right?
Yeah, there's worse things to do in life, man. Getting in a cage and performing in front of people who want to watch a fight's pretty cool. No problems at all. It's get knocked down, you just get back up. So I think at this point we're down, but we're not out.
On last night's episode, Nate, the Blackzilians thought that you were definitely the next up. They said that you were cutting weight and that you were really thin, and they were sold that you were the next to fight. On the show and just for your career, are you always really close to fight weight, or were you trying to maybe be a decoy for your team?
I wish I was that could involve trickery that well, but I can't. No, it's I'm a light welterweight. It's not that I'm so much light, it's I'm lean. The weight's perfect for me. I only really have to cut the water weight to get down there. So what appears that I'm always slim is just with my lifestyle, man. I get it at the gym a lot, but no, I'm just always ready to fight.
You weren't the only one cutting the water weight on that episode. When Creepy Steve, we'll get into the broad strokes in a second here, but cutting to the other big storyline of the episode, Steve Montgomery having some problems cutting weight there and supposedly overloading on his water, not enough electrolytes, and leading to that seizure in the middle of the episode. What can you tell us about that episode, and compared to what we saw on TV? Was that pretty much he was cutting down for it?
It was way worse live. It was. I was in his room. We were roommates, and Steve Montgomery is my brother. So, it was unrealistic. What happened in front of you? I thought for a moment he was going to die. I really did, and but it had nothing to do. He cut some weight, so he was dehydrating himself. or he was getting ready to. He was overloading on water. I don't know the whole why the seizure happened. I just know that in the moment it happened, you react and you just care for somebody and you want the best, and that's really all that was taking place at the time, and hoping for his safety. And it turns out he's very healthy. You know, he took a lot of medical tests to even get on the show. Afterwards, he took plenty of medical tests. He's completely healthy and ready to fight. And what I love about Steve is he's a go-getter. You know, he's got a great attitude, and he's always down for the cause. He's down for the fight. And I would have loved to have seen him perform in front of a national audience like that. But he'll come back stronger. That's the nice thing about that guy. Talk about adversity. Nothing will knock him down. He'll keep moving forward. You know?
For sure. I have a question. You know, do you think... I mean, weight cutting is such a serious thing, and there could potentially obviously be a lot of issues and problems. Do you think a lot of fighters are knowledgeable about, you know, the potential serious side effects of it?
Yeah, absolutely. I just don't see how cutting weight's even as necessary as people are making it. I know a lot of people cut quite a bit of weight, more than just the water weight. You know, they're taking less calorie intake. So they're eating less as they're training, you know, basically starving themselves to make weight, and it's just unhealthy. It's not necessary either, because the weight class below you, they're generally a little faster. You may have a little bit of strength, but there's ups and there's bonuses to everything, you know. It's not always going to be perfect, you know. I just rather see people live a healthy lifestyle, eat healthy, drink a lot of water, train hard, and be close to your walking weight. But, you know, these weight categories are 20 pounds apart. Some people are going to be a little bit smaller than other guys, but that's where training comes in. You know, you got to train hard and be ready for anything.
Well, I know that you said that, you know, Creepy Steve usually is a very strong person, but the also thing that I was curious about was your name, Soul Force, and I wanted to know where that came from and how that was inspired.
Yeah, the name came from, I was interested in Mahatma Gandhi. He was kind of interesting, but it was more of a way of living. It's actually a practice that's, the principles of that practice are very focused, very. It was a little deeper, and I initially thought I just liked the name Soul Force, you know, Satyagraha. I like the principles behind it, but I just took to it. Just I like, you know, just like what it stood for and meant, and I like the way it sounded, you know.
I feel like we've got the modern day Star-Lord, or the real life Star-Lord here.
Yeah, that's what I was
Tough guy
thinking.
human that just hey, call me Soul Force, man. Soul Force. Never mind.
Just sounds good. You know?
You want to be a comic book hero after fighting, maybe?
Hell, anything that would make it easier to secure the financial benefits of my family.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
Nick, going into the episode last night and then the episode before with all the sauna drama and all that BS, it looked like to me, at least on television, that you were taking the role as, you know, a veteran leader of ATT. I mean, there are plenty of guys who have been around. You've been around for a while. Did you, once you knew the 9 other guys you were going to be with in the house and on your team, did you immediately think, okay, I'm going to step up and I'm going to be a leader of this team?
No, I think that's already ingrained in me. I think it's ingrained in all us fighters. I do have probably the most experience with competition, and so naturally I think you know, at this point I could be a good leader, mostly a good leader by example. Yeah, you know, I understand where that dude was coming from. You know, he's looking out for his team, and so he came in there and tried to make things difficult for our guy. Why not? It's competition. But yeah, you had to stand your ground, I thought, in any situation where you might feel like you're getting slighted a bit, you know. And I just, you know, I don't take to people just, you know, getting tough for no necessary reason. And I felt like that's what he was doing. I'll always stand up for that, no matter who you are, no matter how bad you are. You know, I'm always down for a fight, you know.
There's something to be said for, I almost want to say it's in the water. You know, Nathan comes from, prior to AT&T, AT&T.
I got you. Yes.
You know what? This has got to be a drinking game with this season, I think. We're still several episodes in. Every time somebody says AT&T, we should be forced to take a drink. Or at least I should in this case.
Leave me out of this.
Yeah, I wish. But, so, you know, Team Quest. Yeah. The legacy, though, Nathan's legacy comes back prior to ATT. He was training for a long time, started his career in Oregon with Team Quest, and of course, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of those guys, the team that you were training with, Randy Couture, Matt Lindland, Robert Follis, I think Chael Sonnen was still up there at that point. He was, You fought on their Super Fights shows, the regional fights there a couple of times. Talk about the switch from something like Team Quest to AT&T. I mean, if nothing else, the climate is a big difference from Oregon to Florida, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Was it tough to make the transition, or what was that like?
No, it was not tough to make the transition from Team Quest to American Top Team, only because prior to Team Quest was at Olympic Training Center. Prior to that was at Oregon State in their wrestling program. I've been around. The difference between Team Quest and American Top Team is I think a lot of the fighters at Team Quest believed in the concept of where American Top Team is at now. I know that American Top Team has had their growing pains too, and that's what happens when you're around the sport for over a decade. You know, you're going to have bumps and ups and downs. But, so it was hard to relay that message where I think the team should be and where it is capable, and other fighters as well, bringing that to management, to the owners' table. It just never really worked out. Some areas we thought we could be better at, we just weren't doing it. I came down here to help out Pitbull in a training camp, and I loved everything about it. And we had great training partners at Team Quest and a room full of studs. But down here, it's ridiculous. I mean, people from all over the world who have the simple goal of being number one, and we got a collection of people from all over the world coming here to be their best, and it's just a phenomenal atmosphere. I love every bit of it, and it's only getting better. You know, guys, the cream is rising, and then it's solidifying more and better. And I'm hopeful for the next few years in the future. You know, I think we have some young guys that are going to make a major statement in the sport. You know, just got to relax, not let the pressure get to you, and just fight like they're capable. Because I see some great things happening. So just got to go do it.
Awesome.
A lot of these, I guess we could kind of transition into last night's episode a little bit. And a lot of these guys, you know, are capable and have a big future ahead of them. And I guess I had one question just before the fight on how everything was picked. It seemed like it seemed like Dan and a few of the other coaches were alluding that a lot of the guys were hurt early. You know, they said that Grillo, you know, he's hurt, he still can't get it done. Hyder has hand issues. Did it seem like you guys had a smaller pool of fighters to choose from than the Black Zillions?
I can't speak for Black Zillions, you know, but it wasn't. It was just bad timing, just injuries that had happened prior to the show even starting. You know, it's just that was the time frame. This is the date of the show. Get on there and fight. And if you had injuries, you had to deal with them. If you let the public know, or you know, there's an injury that might have caused you problems, you really couldn't get it looked at, because if it was serious, they could take you off out of the show. So you know, but that's just the fight game. You just persevere. You keep moving forward. Injuries are going to happen. I'm sure everybody's injured. But I think what we're seeing with the closeness in these fights is, and this isn't being talked about, but this, you know, there's two teams with 8 very good fighters on each side, and they're very good fighters. And what's happening is there's no big advantages except for that second fight where Uros got held down by a better grappler. But it's very even across the board, all around good fighters. There's no area you can pick on and really get on a guy, and it's causing these fights that are close. And then the pressure, too, is some of these guys haven't been able to persevere through the pressure. But these are very good fighters, you know, on both these squads, and in a matter of time, it will be represented.
Nathan, what did you think of this fight that was shown between Carrington and Sabah? Did you think...
I thought it was a good fight. You know, I thought finally we're starting to get a little momentum as far as fighting the way we want to fight. I thought he could have done a little bit more, only because Sabah is very, very good. He is intent to hurt you when he fights. He's a finisher. He's good everywhere. He wasn't pulling the trigger. And you know, that's the weird thing about the mental approach to the sport. If you're thinking about a guy's takedowns or you think about what he's doing, it's going to mess you up on what you're trying to do. And I think he got caught up in that a little bit. But the day he decides to open up, he's going to be a handful for anybody. I guarantee that. So I just hope he can do what he does in the room under the lights, and I'm sure he will. Give him a chance. Let him do it.
Speaking of lights, I want to know, obviously every week you guys have been down. Is your team intimidated? Have at least the fighters that have fought so far been intimidated by the lights and the cameras and the raucous environment?
Even if they said they weren't, they had to be affected by it. I was affected by it walking in there, having almost 3 decades of competition. I was blown away by that small atmosphere, how electric it was. You had 2 teams, and they both wanted to win so badly that you could just feel it, man. And I think it might have bottled some guys up a little bit, but
that's interesting.
You fight to win, but sometimes you fight not to lose, and I think that was some of the problem.
It seems like
that makes sense.
Answers that question. Yeah, I was wondering, especially you're not. I mean, you're one of the more veteran guys of both squads, but I would think that most of these guys have fought on televised shows, either regionally or nationally. So it kind of surprised me that guys of the caliber of being on this season, of any season of Tough, would short circuit like that. But I guess not quite stage fright, but more stage fright from lack of performance in front of Dana and the Fertitta brothers, is something like that. Do you think?
More important not to lose than to win.
Yeah,
it's true.
That's it, man. That's what the case is a lot of times in competition, man, with a lot of people.
Anything that you can tease us coming up this season? Is there anything that you're
like any finishes?
Deserve a tease. You guys need some form of hope, man. I need it, man. This is hard reliving some of this. This is this actually sucks, man. I mean, it does, man. I have such high regards for my teammates, man, that I feel like I honestly believe at some point in time we could have, the top 10 ranked fighters in each weight class. That's what I'm hoping for at American Top Team, and we just got to let it fly,
I know you can't release results.
Hey, hang in there. Keep watching.
That's right.
We will.
Do you think that we're actually going to see any finishes this season? I don't say that snarkily, but it's
for sure. I mean, that's another bummer, is, man, we're all training to finish, and it just doesn't happen as easy as you think it's going to happen in your mind. But because guys are training to finish them, it's just a weird thing. But I'm sure there'll be a finish. There has to be, right? There's 8 more fights. I mean, probability have to be pretty good that they're contended.
He says, "I think there has to be."
Nice.
Oh gosh, that's awesome.
Well played, Soul Force.
Nathan, I want to thank you again so much for taking time out of your schedule to join us today. We certainly all appreciate having you on and getting your insight.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys seeking my insight. So thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
Take care. We'll talk soon.
Anytime too. Okay, so just let me know.
All right, awesome. Thank you. Well,
sweet.
Wow.
That was cool.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
I know.
What a great golf.
I know. I was just this close about asking about the playhouse. They're close.
Is that mine?
Are you guys? I know, Jay. You don't seem very surprised, but I mean, by this. But I'm not surprised by his response about the lights and the cameras. I mean, that environment is so loud. And that's on TV. So in person, it's like insane. And not everybody, I mean, just from performing on stage myself, not everybody can handle.
I've done pro wrestling in front of 100 people, but
might not have
you
been
get over
loud,
that,
right?
Well, I don't think the loudness, though. I mean, granted, a lot of guys will say, regardless of what show you're on, you get in the cage. Some guys just can't hear their cornerman. Same as boxing,
there's no way they could hear things. I mean, there's no way. It was so loud. It was so. I mean, you're talking cameras everywhere. You got Dana Lorenzo. I mean, the pressure of that.
But you're also a trained fighter at a top national, international gym. You got on there because they believed that you were that good, deserved to be on there. You should believe that as well. That's why it does surprise me. I'm sure I would wilt in that scenario, but in the same
Sorry,
but at the same time,
imagining you wilt.
Case in point, 4 of us here, in this studio here, we've got a bunch of lights. Nobody's yelling at us or anything, but people are yelling at us.
Mark is yelling at us.
Or
soon to yell at us.
Joe Boza by the internet. But I would think that's something that you have to overcome. On our amateur shows, I tell this to guys. I mean, I get it, the lights and the excitement and everything, but that is, if you're going to be a performer, if you're going to do anything on stage in front of a crowd, you've got to get used to that, and that's just it. I think that's one of the first things that has to be, you have to get over that hump.
I mean, in athletes in any sport, and I know, talking specifically about mine, there's things that you can teach fighters, and there's things, athletes, and there's some that you can't, that just don't have it, that can turn it on when it counts. Because at the end of the day, that was their moment. You know what I mean?
A lot of these guys just don't want to be the person who gets, you got knocked out on season 21 of Tough Enough. Oh, Dana was sitting rings, octagon side or whatever you call it.
I have to, even though it does suck, but at the same time, you came here to show what you can show. Even if you got knocked out, you can say, hey, I got knocked out, but I fought for it. And that's what kind of made me upset about this fight, was that they just were so hesitant in their own heads of, I don't want to get hit.
I'm with you, Alexis. I agree with Dana White on that.
Yeah.
On that
the end result
too.
is now you've got Dana talking trash about your match.
Exactly.
Those guys sucked.
Granted, he talks a lot of trash.
I think he just sat down at the end of the show and said, can you just go over the 8 matches that sucked, and then we're going to have a sit-down interview and you're just going to crank it out.
Yeah. I mean,
I would much rather get knocked out in a ugly, in front of Dana than for him to say you had a shitty match.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I completely agree.
Well, we have to welcome our second guest of the night, American Top Team Sabah Homasi. Are you there?
I'm there.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how about you?
We are great. Thank you so much. I know that you were training tonight. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to join us and discuss this week's episode.
No problem.
Where do you guys want to start? Let's start breaking down this fight here.
Get right into it.
Yeah. Take it, Jared.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I can we'll probably all go through it. I scored the fight for you. I'm not just sucking up. I thought it was very close. We could go round by round, but I guess we could just, what were your thoughts as a whole on this fight? I guess going in, Carrington style, and then what was your strategy going in, I guess, before the first round?
Strategy really was just to stuff his takedowns and make it a brawl. I just had to be technical with him. I can't just go throw haymakers because, that's his opportunity to change levels and take me down. So I did have to be cautious of his takedowns. But other than that, man, I was in shape and I was ready to go. There's really no excuses. I was talking to one of my coaches today, and he told me that was me fighting at 30%. He's like, that was 30% of what you could do, and he's right. I just sat back and could have done a lot more. I still believe I won the fight, but that should have never went to decision. I could have really pushed the pace and done a lot more than I did.
Why didn't you do more? What was going on?
Man, honestly, I couldn't tell you. I think in the back of my mind, I was just waiting for him to shoot, which was, stupid on my part. So, I don't know. Like I said, I paid the price for it, right? The judges went with the other way, so that's my fault.
Did the judges end up giving you guys scores? Because I noticed they didn't say it on the show itself.
We didn't get any scores, and I kind of want to know what the scores were, but we didn't get any.
Yeah, that's how I felt about it.
I gave Banks the first round. All of them really were quite close. The only decisive ones, Banks I thought got the first, but by a hair, and then I gave you the third. Specifically for just, I think, a little bit more activity, landing with the jabs, 3 kicks at the top. The second round was the hardest one for me to score. I listened to you when you were doing Tough Talk last night. I agree with you. Banks had a lot of takedowns throughout the whole match. And even takedowns is kind of a liberal thing, because he would get you to the ground, but it certainly wasn't like he had a lot of control on you. A lot of time you were up really fast. He didn't get top control at any point at all.
Because he slipped off.
They were barely...
I don't mean to cut you off. You know what that fight kind of reminds me of? When Hendricks was holding Robbie down and he really didn't do anything with it? He was just holding him.
Yeah.
You can't give the guy points for holding you down. That's not a fight. He defended the takedown most of the time, and he was even beating him up in the clinch, even against the cage. And there was times where I was kneeing Banks and throwing punches and trying to make him work and move.
Yeah.
And so really, in my eyes, I mean, anyone could hold someone against the cage. You're using all your effort to keep someone's back against the cage. Anyone can do that. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're winning the fight. That's not even a fight to me.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I think it's only in scenarios where there's not a whole lot else going on the feet, where there's not much else to judge off of, that becomes a thing. It's kind of a visual trick to hold somebody down, or a lay-and-pray position on top where you're not really doing anything, but it looks like you'd rather be in that position than the guy on bottom, or trapped.
Yeah, absolutely. But then again, even when in the center of the octagon, then it comes on me, because every time I threw combinations, I landed. So me sitting back again, then again, it's my fault. I did watch the fight multiple times, and I counted strikes, and I outstruck him. I threw more punches in every round. So I watched the fight over 10 times. I watched it a bunch of times. So you need to really watch it more than once, and you'll see everything.
No, I totally agree. Even though, yes, I did only watch it once, I definitely was on your corner for a majority of the fight, because I felt like that you really did strike, and you did more kicks. And I feel, since I've also been in this position before where I did have a grappler and I am a stand-up fighter, that usually as soon as they get me down and they just lay on top of me, they've already won the round, and it drives me insane. So I totally feel you on that one. I know that we already touched on this, but what was your initial thoughts when you first saw the fight for the first episode?
The first time I saw it, I believe I won. I mean, at first, before I saw it, I was like, "Fuck, well, maybe he did win." I was like, maybe he beat me. But that was before I saw it. But then once I saw it, third round was razor close, but I didn't even think it needed to go to a third. I thought hands down I won first and second round. So. And, even third round, I believe I won that. But it could have gone either way like it did, and Banks is the one who got his hand raised.
It seemed like the judges were a little swayed by maybe the blood. And you mentioned that on Tough Talk. And, that's any fight. That's boxers. That's anybody. There's bleeders in every sport. Do you think they were swayed by that? Because watching the fight, I still think you had the more accurate strikes. So do you think some judges can be swayed by blood?
Absolutely, I think so. Some judges, will score damage, and he did damage. He landed a couple jabs that cut me open. But, before that fight, you take a look at my face, and you'll take a look at all the scars. I got a lot of scar tissue, so, you just have to touch me, and I'll split wide open. So, but it is what it is.
That's a tough scenario in a combat sport, buddy.
What's that?
That's a tough scenario in a combat sport. If you can get touched that
honestly,
quickly.
I don't give a shit if I'm bleeding. I'm still going to fight the same way. It is what it is. You're going to get hit, and, it's MMA. You got 4-ounce gloves on, so you're going to get cut open. Yeah.
Now, when you guys rematch later on this season, what do you do differently in the match?
Jay.
If we rematch.
Damn, I thought
He's trying to get you.
I thought I had you there.
Well, to kind of bounce off of that, not the rematch part, but as a person, since I mostly relate to you and how you fight, and how I also bruise like a banana as well when I fight. What kind of advice would you give me for someone who's gone through this situation several times?
Getting cut?
No. Just your scenario in the fight and
damage
losing
to face.
Damage on the face and just.
Oh, yeah, damage to the face. You know what? I just need to be me and just not worry about what the other guy's going to do to me. Like I was, I was waiting for him to shoot. I should just let it fly. Perform at my at 100% and more head movement, more foot movement, and just use more combinations. Because I could have ended that fight.
We were discussing earlier on the show about your teammates and your team, and just kind of wondering, that's such an insane environment, the screaming and kind of the lights and cameras. Did you feel intimidated at all by that?
You know what? At first, I was a little overwhelmed when we first moved into the house with the cameras and all that shit, because no one's really used to that. But then after a couple of days, you kind of get used to it, and I just took a look at the big picture and realized what I was there for. So at a time, it really didn't bother me. After that, a couple of days, I was back to normal. So
Yeah, and he's doing the dishes in front of the cameras. You know, I love that. I heard when he said, "I'm clean and I take care of things." I'm like, oh, I like this guy because he's just like, okay, who's trashing the house then? That's what I want to know.
It was a couple of the guys on their team, and I think it was a couple of the Brazilians. It wasn't all of them. There was a couple. Most of the guys were great. You know, they fucking cleaned up after themselves and stuff like that. But then there's a fucking bunch of them that are dirty, didn't clean up, and that kind of like pissed me off. It's like the last thing I want to do is fucking come home, and that's when I stopped. You know, I clean up after myself, so my dishes and shit like that, I'll throw it in the dishwasher. But anyone else's shit, I'm leaving it right where it is. I'm not gonna fucking clean it.
You a grown ass man.
I know.
I love it. He's getting more heated about the dishes than the fight. I love it. I love it. Do the dishes.
The other thing I also liked about this fight was, even though, yes, we're only, 4 episodes in right now, that every time, the second round and at the end of the fight, you guys kind of, shook hands, embraced, and things like that. Because even though I know that the biggest thing about this season is the rivalry, but you guys, even though you guys are still, sportsmanlike and still shook hands and things like that, it's not a question, I just wanted to commemorate you on that.
Yeah, I mean, sportsmanship, I think, is important. It can't be a bad sport. So, we're both in there. We want the same thing. We both want success. So, at the end of the day, you guys are both in there and you're throwing down, so you could at least shake the guy's hand after the fight, you know?
How was it fighting on short notice? I mean, you had less time once Steve went down, and also maybe the situation in the house when that all went down. How was that?
Man, I lived with Steve, prior to that, and I've experienced him having a seizure.
Previous to the episode?
That's the worst one I've seen, and it was a bit scary. But I kind of knew. But there's really nothing you can do when someone's seizing, you just have to let them spaz out, and then once they get back to it, they're okay.
Pretty scary stuff. I imagine it had to be frightening in person.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've seen it a couple times, so I was just like, yeah, whatever, let him. He'll come back in a minute. Honestly, if I was the first one to get to him, I probably would have just dragged him in the closet, let him seize up, and he would have just came back to life after a little bit.
Oh my God!
So that's faith in your teammate, man.
The last thing I wanted was him to get sent home, which was what happened. So it sucks, because he's I'm very close with Steve, and he's a great guy and great fighter. But he's definitely going to get a shot, to shine in the UFC, and when he does, people are going to be like, damn.
I did feel bad that he got sent home, but
taking the fight on short notice, it wasn't. I was ready to go. I was in great shape. It was just, after it happened, I was in the hospital with him, and Dan Lambert told me at the, when we were in the hospital, told me that I was fighting. So, I just had to change gears, and there's really nothing I could do about it at that point. It doesn't really bother me. It's like it's what I do on a day-to-day basis. So if I have to fight tomorrow, it's like I don't. You really don't need to mentally prepare. You just go in there and do what you do.
All right.
Mr. White says a lot of things a lot of times. I know you talked about this on Tough Talk, but how did you take his criticisms over your fight?
Dana is just being Dana. It is what it is. In the tournament format, especially when there's points involved, you can't. When it comes down to the third round, it's like, yeah, I could have done more and been more explosive and done some crazy shit. But any little takedown, if he would have got a takedown to flatten me out, that would have just been bad on my part, So, I mean, whatever. He's just being Dana. I'll just take his comment and learn from it. And I'll tell you what, I won't perform like that ever again. So,
there you go.
Have they? Has the UFC told you guys anything in regards to contracts for after the season?
They haven't said anything to us.
No.
No one knows anything.
Do you think that it's a situation of them? I mean, they obviously know the fights and who they like and who they didn't like of the whole season.
Right.
The only match outstanding still is the finals. Do you know how people are getting picked for the finals and how at all that has any relevance or effect on who gets contracts after this season?
Man, honestly, I have no idea. I just know the fans pick one and UFC picks one. So, and then, it goes from there.
One contract each, you mean?
No contracts. Just
right, I know. But the fans pick one.
Pick one of the fighters to fight in the finale. Is that what you're saying?
the fans will pick a fight to happen. They'll pick a matchup, and then the UFC will pick a matchup.
Oh, so two matches happen. One is fan matchmaking, and the other is the promotion.
Right.
Interesting.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I didn't understand that, so I'm really glad somebody pointed that out.
I might steal that for myself for University of
jeez.
MMA.
Oh, dear.
Good call.
This guy.
So I had one more question just about the fight. It seemed like by the second round, both yourself and Carrington were kind of sucking wind a little bit. There's a lot of mouth, a lot of mouth breathing, and it just. I mean, and like you said, your coaches said your fight you gave 30% of what you could in a way. Explain, were you tired at all in that match? I really want to know. Do you think your conditioning wasn't quite up to par for the match?
No, my conditioning was there. You're gonna get tired in a fight regardless. You just have to push through that. You got to dig deep, and it comes down to like how bad you want it. So obviously, if I was tired, he would have been able to take me down. And like I said in the interviews before, he was gonna fail, and he did fail. To me, a takedown is when you take someone down and flatten them out, have control. He never had control.
Agreed.
We agree.
Overall, your experience in the Tough House, would you ever do it again?
Would I ever do it again? You know what I missed about being in the Tough House? That list. Writing something down on that list and then just waking up the next morning and it was there. That's great.
Oh, food-wise?
What's that?
You're talking about food?
Yeah. I mean anything you wanted. You wrote it down on that list and then it was there the next day. So that's great. I came home and didn't shop for like a week because I forgot that I had to.
Anything?
I didn't shop, man. I was like, shit.
I think everyone would love that list.
I was like, I need that in my life.
I was going to say, that sounds like nanny stuff
That's
there.
amazing.
We should start it here at AFTERBUZZ.
So, would you do it again,
though?
though?
List that I didn't get, though? Every day on the list, I wrote down Johnny Walker Blue Label, and I was going to save that for...
If I knew where you lived, buddy, I would totally send you.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
So, it was a positive experience overall for you. You would do it again?
I wouldn't do it. Being locked up for 6 weeks, it's shitty, Actually, it wasn't that bad. It was good to disconnect for 6 weeks. Your phone gets taken away. The only thing that really bothered me was not having music.
You can't have music
I rarely
in the house?
watch TV, and I could definitely, be away from not seeing my family and friends. It's always good to disconnect, I think. So other than that, it was good. But I could disconnect on my own. I don't need to be locked in a house,
No music.
But no, that was I was thinking that they can have Bud Light all over the house, but you can't have music. What?
I'm sorry, you're breaking up. I can't hear
I'm
you.
sorry. We were talking about, was it last episode about the Bud Light?
Yeah.
And I was thinking, okay, so you can have a ton of alcohol, but you can't have music in the house?
Hello, it's a reality show.
Copyrighted.
That's when people start.
Whatever.
You all start singing on your own, right? And doing like battle ciphers.
Oh, God.
Oh my God.
We started singing, and then they would yell at us and say that we can't sing.
Because of copyright, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so dumb.
Not even an original song by yourself?
That's when you start. You got to sit down with your notebook and you got to write your own music. At that point, someone has to take some pots and pans, make a little beat for you, and you just.
That's perfect for battle rapping.
So I know that. This was very different from all the other tough seasons, and in past seasons, it really, you see who can mentally hold it together. Did you see guys do, or are we going to see guys potentially, is it the mentally strong that survive, or is it just a little bit different because it's teams?
I think anyone who's a fighter is already mentally strong. So, that being said, I think everyone handled being in that house pretty damn well. So. Everyone was prepared for it, it got to some people, you'll probably see it, but you won't see it. I mean, I don't know. To me, everyone was normal.
Anything that you can tease us with that's upcoming?
Thing to tease you with.
Knockouts.
When do you guys? When do you guys get control?
Just keep watching. Just keep watching. That's all I can say.
He didn't hear you, Jay.
Yeah, no, I don't think I'm going to get an answer.
No, you're not going to.
No, seriously, we're just wondering when you guys get control, and it goes back to AT&T. AT&T. There's another shot for me.
ATT.
Another shot there. Yeah, ATT. So when episode 6, episode 7 coming up soon? You think?
The only way for you to find out if ATT takes control is for you to watch the next episode.
Damn, you're
God,
good,
dang
man.
it.
You are good.
You've been doing a lot of PR.
Well, now that he mentioned that real quick about the gyms, what's the different mindset? I mean, I would think it's kind of fun going into enemy territory and fighting. You know, if you're at your own gym, I know there's that comfortableness you have at your gym, but how was it going from one gym to the other? Is there a real difference?
Man, to me, it wasn't. There really was no difference. Either gym, the environment was just crazy. It was a lot of tension. It was super loud every fight. But you could put me anywhere, and it doesn't matter where we fight. You know.
Street fight.
It's always good to have home gym advantage. But I just hated being in their shithole, so I just like to take it home and
Get a nice sauna there.
I knew.
Is there anything upcoming for you that you are allowed to talk about? Not on the show, but current, present moment?
current present moment. Not really, just training. That's about it. Just training.
And you're not dancing anymore, are you?
No, I'm not dancing anymore.
By the way, I'm coming to your side on this one. I've seen a lot of males dance, not as I haven't gone to these shows. I've been a pro dancer for years.
What shows are you talking about?
No, there's male reviews all over Hollywood and everywhere. They make good money. They make really good money, and they don't. It's not taking off their clothes. Like they make good money.
Let me tell you what. I did make really good money when I did it, and the only reason why I did it was because they were super flexible with my schedule.
Yeah.
I didn't have to be in when I had to be in. They told me to come in when I can,
Exactly.
which would be like 10:30 at night. I would work for 3-4 hours and make hundreds of dollars.
Yep.
And it was super easy, and I still got to train full time. So I'm not going to sit here and, I'm going to do what I got to do to meet my goals,
Yep.
and accomplish my dreams. So I don't care, So people are they're gonna judge me or whatever, for example, on Twitter the other day, because I said the Brazilians were dirty in the house. So Nakahara comments saying that, oh, who's dirty? You calling Brazilians dirty? He's like, go back to dancing or whatever, shit like that, stupid stuff. And then Philippe posted something. It was actually pretty funny. He copy and pasted my face on a Chippendales thing. There was 2 Chippendale dancers, and he was talking some more shit. But I even liked the photo and I commented on it, laughing and stuff. And it doesn't bother me. But like I said, in order for me to chase my dream, I got to do what I got to do.
I think it's awesome.
And it was the easiest job ever. I've had girls come up to me. I'm fucking fully dressed, and they would come up and tip me $100 bills.
Jeez.
Yep. No, it's the real deal, man.
Can't knock the hustle.
Hey, man, you go.
We all want to thank you so much for taking time to join us. We certainly appreciate it. I know you are, very busy, and you had to train tonight and everything. So we certainly appreciate your insight. Thank you.
It's all right. Thank you for having me.
And
Yeah.
I know that you're about to leave, but I wanted to say that since you're the fighter that I mostly relate to, just in general, I just wanted to say you're awesome.
Aw.
Appreciate it.
Nice.
Thank you. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Talk to you later,
Take
guys.
care.
Bye.
What insight tonight. This
I
is
know.
great.
Yeah.
Back-to-back ATT guys.
Got him.
No, we got him specifically. He said whether it was what was it in
Either
it
gym.
was either gym.
I mean, so
I
they
wasn't trying
they're
to
going to
get
win
him.
one
I know you
match.
weren't. No,
One
I know
match
you
at
weren't.
least.
I wasn't
at
trying
least
to get you.
I'm not saying that, but he said in either gym matches were great or were exciting or something like that. So, bam, I'm calling it. We will see AT&T.
Oh my God.
What is wrong
You should just drop
with
the
you?
mic right
That
now.
was not even intentional,
Lord.
You
guys.
should just
gonna
walk
take
out.
that.
Just
Hey,
walk out.
T,
This is
T.
Jay's last
AT,
show.
American top team will fight on their home turf.
Sponsor.
Jeez. You are.
It's Verizon team. I'm waiting for that. Just a total what?
I was going to say, yeah.
Someone should just throw that in.
I need to get
T-Mobile?
I wonder if he was the
discount on
Punisher on stage.
That's what I wanted to ask
I know,
him.
we were right there.
I was like, ugh.
I'm like, oh, we got
That's
to
why
You might not want to know that answer.
Well, that
That would be a great dancer name.
We're going downhill here, people. We're going downhill. We need to rein it back
That's
in.
uphill.
Uphill. Oh, my God.
This is awkward.
No, that was good. And honestly, we didn't know that it was a fan pick and then there's also
That's
a
awesome.
UFC
Yeah, I
pick.
I don't think that they've announced that
I don't
yet.
think so either. So hopefully he doesn't get in trouble for that. Sorry,
No.
Ryan.
Yeah,
That'll keep people watching.
I think somebody mentioned it, but it's not like we didn't know if it was confirmed
Right.
or not because someone told that to me. I don't know.
It's gonna be fun.
It's an interesting idea for
think it's awesome.
matchmaking.
Yeah.
It has potential for a horrible, horrible
This is true.
matchup.
You think it's going to be the
That's true.
owners?
That
Oh,
would be
yes.
so funny.
Could be.
I'd vote for that.
Put
Yeah.
We
them
see
in pads.
something later on from them, I heard.
I don't know
Not
what
a
it
fight,
is.
but
I would
like
think there would be
something. I don't
Horrible
know.
verbal
Owner's
sparring.
challenge.
I really want them to be on those inflatable things, and they have like the Q-tips and just like
Oh yeah, the jousting.
Nerf like
jousting.
American Gladiator
Nice.
style.
Yeah.
It'd be hysterical.
Oh my gosh. Well, anything else? Final thoughts?
The one thing I did like, even though I know a lot of people probably felt pretty lame about it, was when Creepy Steve decided they let him go. That I love that Dana said that it's about health and safety,
Absolutely.
not about your dream. And
Great
I have to
point.
think, and I really like that because I feel like, okay, maybe in amateur and maybe local fights, sometimes we don't take care of ourselves. That's a thing. But if you're fighting professionally, you should know better. You know what I mean?
Health and safety first, always, with
Yeah.
everything. Love
So-
it. Great point.
Yeah, it's all the more important, especially I was going to say in local, regional, and amateur shows. That kind of thing that education about health and safety really needs to trickle down. And if it's not at the top level, then you got problems for everybody else below
Sure.
that.
I completely agree.
Absolutely.
We'll stay on that point, and I'll say I hope I see a few knockouts.
I think these guys over there want to see them too.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, just
Everybody does.
a little more action.
Yeah.
I hope these guys push it.
We got a little snippet of it today, but I want more.
We need more.
Yeah.
We need more. Well, that is going to do it for us today. What a great episode talking to those guys. Where can everybody find you, Alexis?
Like I said, you can find me where all Alexis Torres are sold on the interwebs as atorres890. Also follow me on, if you like the sound of my voice or my face, to our sister network, blackhollywoodlive.com, where I talk about geek, nerd, tech stuff, video game news, and everything else that's happening in pop culture.
That sounded like a commercial.
right?
And speaking of University of MMA, Fight Night 10 is going down at Club Nokia in Los Angeles on Sunday the 31st. Tickets available at U of MMA. I'll be back Sunday to cover Frankie Edgar and Uriah Faber.
You can find me on Twitter. That's at Gilkerson Radio.
Awesome. And I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Periscope at Suri Serano. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.